Hello, I'm John from the Hot Informer,
And I'm Glenn from Fall Ritual.
and this is episode 35 of Fall Informer. And today we have a special guest, a past reviewer, the October Panic Attack, Dante.
How you doing? Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. How did you decide to call your YouTube channel October Panic Attack?
Yeah. Well, some people thought that it was just a really kind of a cool name working off of fear.
Yeah.
When in actuality, I have suffered from panic disorder
Wow.
for a predominantly after my grandfather died. It really started to rear its ugly head. Probably I was about 24, and I'm 44 now. So I was about 24, and I started the October panic attack at about 25. And the idea was I was inspired by my panic attacks at the time. I actually was at a level where there was one point I almost lost my job because I was agoraphobic. I couldn't leave my apartment for 14 days at one point. I almost had to relearn how to drive, how to leave the house, stuff like that. And so my love for horror, my love for haunted houses, um, uh, I would be in a haunted house and sometimes have a panic attack from certain situations. The things that would trigger me would be pitch blackness, or the worst, a very bright room that's completely fogged.
Um,
So basically, areas where I feel like I can't get out, I don't know where I am, stuff like this.
yeah.
And people would say to me, "What are you, out of your mind? Like, how do you like haunted houses? Why do you continue to do this?" And I was like, my love for haunted houses and for horror is so passionate that and so intense that those little elements of panic,
Yeah.
it actually got to the point where haunted houses and my love for haunted houses was actually helping me fight my panic disorder. So
Okay.
I was facing my phobias, I was facing my fears, and it was really a very, very positive thing that most normal people would not do, obviously. But
No.
and at its core essence, Halloween, horror, haunted houses are the thing that comforts me the most. Um, so that's kind of the background, and because it's based on reality, I don't have the panic disorder I used to have at
Oh,
all.
good.
I basically just, fought it through a variety of techniques and things like that. Maybe haunted houses helped out a bit. And I mean, my wife and I were married in Canada, and we went to some of the most extreme haunted houses that would challenge my phobias
Mhm.
to like the worst level possible.
Yeah.
Like there's no safe, like you can't get out.
Okay.
So even if you say I need to get out, you can't get out. And I remember that's where the name, so I was always just gladly walking right into my phobias. And inviting other people to do the same thing. There'd be people in our crew, Glenn, who had some reservations about haunted houses, and I would say to them, "Do you like horror?" They say, "Yeah, I'm claustrophobic." So am I. Let's have a good time. you know. So that's where it came from. Yeah, long story.
Thank you for telling me. Great.
All right. So, Dante, when you were younger, when you bought a magazine, would you always buy the first one or a couple ones back?
Yeah, a couple ones back.
A couple ones back because you don't want all the grossness of the people touching the first one, right? You wanted a couple ones back, nice and right.
exactly. And I want it to be, I want those pages to be smell worthy, man. I want to smell that fresh ink. Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
speaking of being younger in your childhood, talk to me about the haunted houses and dark rides down at Wildwood. I know that played a big role in you growing up and your love for haunted houses.
Yeah, yeah. So I was raised predominantly in Wildwood. That was the place. I didn't. Well, actually, I did live there. I lived in Wildwood at one point for I think close to a year. And with my mom was a single mom at that time with her crazy girlfriend, and it was a wild time because I was 5 years old and anything went at that point. So I remember spending a lot of time on the boardwalk, and I remember I would hear, which is one of my favorite songs of all time now, Toccata in D fugue minor. I always screw it up. It's the okay, and it was echoing from in the Wildwood Boardwalk from Castle Dracula, from Dracula's castle, and I would hear it, and immediately, I'm going to be somewhat candid here. I would immediately have to go to the bathroom. It would immediately make me nervous, and but I was absolutely mystified by it. So I was scared to death. But I would tell my mom, "Can you please walk me to the front of Castle Dracula?"
Okay.
And my mom would say, "Why? You're not going in." And I'd say, "I just want to look at it." And so I would stand there and listen to the song, and I would see these gypsies who were running it, yelling at people in character, and taking these wooden planks and slamming them on there were these steps that the line, once you got closer and closer to the door, you would start to go up the steps and wait in line. And I just remember the sound of the whack on the steps. I could hear it from all the way back, and they would be cursing and screaming at the people in line, like in character. And I remember I was like, this is like, and every year, I was absolutely obsessed with it. And then finally, I don't know the age, but I was probably about 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there. I finally went in with my mom, and it was everything that I thought it was. I can still smell it.
Oh yeah.
Smelled musty and dirty. And from there were these offshoots on Wildwood Boardwalk.
Okay.
That would sometimes only be there for one summer, and then they'd be gone. And there was one in particular, I don't remember the name. I was probably about 12.
Okay.
And I was there with my cousin, and I remember crawling on my hands and knees through pitch black corridors. And I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know where we were. I was terrified. We couldn't get out. And I just remember there was, again, a real deal gypsy woman who was running it, and just kind of not nice, and kind of like, you get in there and you shut up, or like something like this. I mean, it was like amazing. So like my love of haunted houses started, weirdly enough, when it was 85 to 90 degrees outside. So haunted houses started in the summer. That's where my memories started for haunted houses, because of Wildwood Boardwalk. And there was a dark ride. Those were places you walked, but there was a dark ride that absolutely mystified me because it had my name in it. It had my name in it, and it blew my mind. And at the time, it was called Dante's Inferno.
Okay. Yep.
And now, because of modern society and some political stuff. They've changed it to Dante's Dungeon. They got rid of all the people suffering mutilated bodies, and now it's just gothic. And but at the time, there were paintings of mutilated bodies on the front. There was this huge red demon on the top that was billowing smoke out of its mouth with horns. And I remember my name was in it, and I was just like, what the hell? And I would stand out there and wait for the smoke to pour out of the demon's mouth, because it would happen like every maybe 5 minutes. And I would just stand there, and then if my memory serves me correct, I definitely went on Dante's Inferno before I went into Castle Dracula. Definitely. Okay. So Wildwood Boardwalk was where I got schooled. And the funny thing, Glenn, is that initially my only interest was in any rides that were haunted. I didn't have any interest in roller coasters. I didn't have any interest in things that spun around. I didn't have any interest in that. I was a very scared, nervous kid. And if I wasn't going on the haunted houses, I was essentially just staring at them. and then just staring at the other rides that I couldn't go on because I was scared. So eventually that all changed, obviously. And then I was going on loop-de-loops and everything else. But that has always been my first love, and it was my first love on the boardwalk. I would be more apt to go on a roller coaster at that time if there were vampires and paintings on it or something, or if the ride was called, like, Blood Death or something like that. I might be like, but that's where it started. Awesome.
Have you ever heard of the Saw roller coaster?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have obsessed on YouTube over it because that first drop.
Oh yeah.
It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It does a corkscrew, and there's like a body on the ceiling, and like drops water on you. It's great.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's
amazing. Awesome. I wouldn't do that today, but amazing.
Yeah. All right. So, talking about your crazy interactions with haunted houses, tell me, what was your most unique interaction during the blood experience of Halls of Horror?
I'm laughing a lot because for me, when I laugh a lot, I just want to put a precursor. When I laugh a lot, laughing and screaming go hand in hand with me.
Okay.
I am not desensitized at all to horror movies to this day. I'm still scared, and I'm still scared of haunted houses. And I will laugh at myself as well. But my wife and I did the blood experience when the blood experience first started.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a new thing. And it was the only time I was in a haunted house where it's all a blur to me. I remember feeling like I was getting hurt, but that I was on the edge of getting hurt, but I never got hurt, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand.
I remember my wife and I being picked up and thrown. I remember like very claustrophobic situations where, like, being manhandled, and I remember I remember walking out of there with my wife, and we were exhilarated, like that was amazing, but I couldn't necessarily tell you what happened.
Okay.
Because it was such a violent, like it was such a violent experience of like screaming and manhandling and liquids, so many liquids being shot I don't think I was ready for it in my face as much.
Yeah.
And when you have liquids being shot in your eyes and in your face,
Yes.
and you can't see or you can't breathe for a second, and then you're like thrown up against a wall, and I mean, it's like it was craziness, man. So I can't tell you. I can't even think. I do remember one thing, and the only thing I remember was this huge dude, and I forget his name. I don't even know if he still works there, but he was the biggest actor in there. He was huge. And I remember being in a kitchen
Okay.
and him making some joke about an aborted baby or something.
Oh, jeez.
and and something abortion or something. It was something like that. And you know, they were cursing at us. They were making like offensive jokes towards us, like everything. I mean, it was everything that I heard it was. And we only did it one time, and the blood experience, and it was hard. I mean, I would say it was the most physically demanding hunt I've ever been in, to this day. To this day, yeah. So
Like Glenn's crazy because he went through it multiple times with his girlfriend.
Yeah, we did it. We did it multiple 3 years. I think we've done it. It is not a your standard run of the mill haunt. It is.
I think they give you goggles now.
They
oh,
would
they
have to.
do.
They would have to. Yeah,
It's very offensive too. Very offensive. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember the one lady. There was like this lady on like a gurney type thing, and there's like these like babies that were like shooting from her like into it like a dumpster. You remember that? You remember that, Dante?
Yeah. That there's something with a board, like baby,
Yeah.
dead, yeah.
They had this thing. They were like shooting like these like babies into like a dumpster. I'm like,
Oh my God.
not. There's no way that like if you had any type of like sensitivity or find something offensive, you couldn't go through
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah, it was wild, but they give you those warnings ahead of time. Like they tell you, this is not, this is not for young kids, and we did videos for them. And I'll never forget when we filmed movies in there, and these mini commercial movies, and the guy that led it said to me, "We want the videos to be offensive." And I can talk more about that later if you want, but yeah, and how he wanted them to be offensive. yeah.
That's insane.
Great
Awesome.
people though. Great
Oh
people.
yeah, very nice. Oh man, it's some of the nicest staff out there as they try and like destroy you.
Bring you up and bring you down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. So going through all your experiences, Dante, of all these different haunts, you've gone through many haunts over many years. In your experience, what is your favorite crayon color?
I mean, I'm gonna go obvious here. I just got done doing. I was painting some ceramic pumpkins with my daughter, and she said to me, "Why is everything you do creepy?" So I'm gonna go with black. I do like black crayons. Second best would probably be orange. Red is in there too. Yeah.
Awesome. Talk to me about these commercials and ads you filmed for haunts, because you did
Okay.
a lot of them, and there's a lot, and they're still all on YouTube.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
One of the best times of my life was, if I were to make a list of the best times of my life so far, that was one of the best times of my life. So October
right above getting married and having a kid, right? That would be above that.
No. Yeah, no, those would probably be they wouldn't even be on the list. Yeah,
okay, good.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So the so in by the way, in the credits of one of my movies, at the closing credits of one of my movies one time, it said in the closing credits, "No thanks to my wife and my daughter. I hate you both." Anyways,
Oh my God.
that's yeah, that's my humor. Anyways, so we were making movies. October Panic Attack started in 2005, but so did Apartment 1014 Films. And so we were making our own movies. And I got to the point where I said to my wife, I said, you know what? Why don't we try to combine the two worlds? So I literally made a pitch on a piece of paper and I started to call 20, 25 haunts. I just was calling them. I was on the phone with Marlo from Hotel of Horror for 2 hours as she was trying to understand what I wanted to do. And yeah. So what I said to them was, I do not want to get paid. Okay. So throw that out the window. We want to drive to your haunt off season, August. So the month of August, we want to drive to your haunt. And I want to film 5 to 7 1-minute long movies in your haunted house with your actors, you know, in your place, and we'll call them commercials that you can put on your YouTube page, and the rights will be dual. You'll own them, I'll own them, we'll both own them. Okay, so there you go. And it came out to 97 1-minute movies. So it was 12 haunted houses and 97 1-minute movies. And I put it into a long movie, which is on the Vimeo page, and it's October Panic Magic. So it's like 2.5 hours of these. You get to see all the haunts, all the, you know, so it's a real Halloween experience.
Nice.
We were driving to these places, and what I didn't realize is just how surreal and weird it was going to be, because some of the haunts didn't have electricity hooked up yet. So if I didn't bring my external battery powered lighting, you know, and I was writing scripts. I was writing 1-minute scripts.
Okay.
So I would come to a haunt with 7 1-minute scripts, and I would think about the haunt, you know, and the haunts overall thought that they were a bit weird.
That's funny that a haunt would say it's weird.
Yeah. They thought they were a bit weird, and my idea was to make commercials for a haunt that were not your typical, not like, you know, demon house. You hear like loud, you hear heavy metal music, and then you see this guy come up like, "Come to our house." Like, I wanted to do something different, you know, like those are cool, but I just wanted to do like something different. And man, driving out to those places, sometimes it was a 2-hour drive, and we would work so fast and so hard. And I always told them, we will not be at your haunt for longer than, I think it was 2.5 or 3 hours. So we're just going to machine gun this, and we will leave. And it was weirder and more hardcore than I could have expected it to be. And you don't realize how terrifying it is until you walk up to the haunt and there are 15 actors staring at you and waiting for you to direct them. And the owners, all the owners, they said, "Hi, Dante. Okay, bye." And they would leave us. They would leave us there with them.
Oh my
and
God.
I was like, oh my gosh. So it really, we were already making movies, but this experience taught so much more, but it also solidified the connected haunted houses with movie making, and it was on another level. We had real spiders on us because the haunts weren't cleaned out yet. We had um, we had an act. I'll never forget this girl. She couldn't breathe and she had a panic attack, and they had to take her
Jeez.
out because it wasn't cold out. So we were filming in the attic of Hotel of Horror,
Okay.
and it was probably, I mean, I don't know, 95 degrees up there, maybe higher. And
Gosh.
my biggest concern was that my camera, that I was using high 8 tape, that the
Okay.
cameras would malfunction from the heat or from the dust or whatever.
Yeah.
And we got to see behind the scenes. Oh man, it was, and that was amazing. Like that was amazing. The smell of hay, the smell of dust, the smell, and then you got to meet all the owners and you got to be in their world. And it was funny because certain haunts would say to me, I want you to go hard. I want this hard, man. I want to you go full throttle. I don't care what anybody thinks. Halls of Horror said, and then I knew Hotel of Horror wanted stuff evil, so I tried to go really dark. And then I remember some of the actors said to me, "Some of this is a little weird." But I would say the people that were the most weirded out were probably a tie between Frightland and Night of Terror.
Okay.
They were, I felt like maybe they didn't know what to do with the videos too much. Like they were just like, we liked some of it, but it was an unbelievable experience. And then after we did that, my wife and I were able to go into those 12 haunts the next month for free, because the haunts were like, we're going to let you come in. I mean, you did this, we're going to let you come in. And it was just my wife and I that year. And there was something really magical about being in these places that we were just in when they weren't open yet.
Yes.
It was amazing. And they allowed me to use my own music. So I was making my own music to score each one of those 1-minute jobbies. And it was a dream. It was a dream come true. Some people dream of having a Ferrari. Some people dream of living in a mansion.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I'll say to people, I'll say to maybe to Glenn, my wife, or whoever, I'll say, I'm living the dream. The fact that I have masks around me right now, and I'm wearing a Halloween shirt, and I'm talking about Halloween on YouTube.
Yeah.
I'm living the dream. Yeah. That's all I ever wanted. But yeah. So there you go.
I highly recommend people watching those ads and commercials, because a lot of those haunts, at least 2 of them I know of, aren't even in existence anymore. So it's really cool to go back and see those old haunts. I know, like the freaking Fun House and Lulu's, and I'm not sure
Devil's Folly.
Devil's Folly. Okay, they don't even exist anymore. So go back and watch them and just see
It's a time capsule, man.
Yes, exactly.
It's a time. Oh man, yeah.
Oh man, that's super cool. So I want to ask you, of all the different scare techniques that you have witnessed at haunted attractions, what was the most memorable to you?
The most memorable, and it's always difficult for me to say most, but one that really pops into my head is there's something about the use of sound. People will oftentimes say that it would be difficult to watch the horror genre if you were deaf.
Okay.
And I would say that could be the case. We made some films that had no sound, but yeah,
Okay.
that would be sound. They're okay, both from the same place.
Okay.
Hotel of Horror started at another location when they first began. It was about 20 minutes away from where they reside today. And it wasn't called the Hotel of Horror. It was called Altered Nightmares, just Altered Nightmares. Today it's both, you know.
Yeah.
But it was just Altered Nightmares. And I remember we didn't know what the hell it was. And we were at a time now, we were like drug addicts. Like we were basically looking for more and more mom and pop that nobody has ever heard of before. So we were like junkies. Like we were like looking. I was constantly on the internet, like, you know, and I was looking for a new high kind of thing. And we go into Altered Nightmares, and I love Midnight Syndicate. I love Nox Arcana. I love horror soundtracks. I love all that stuff. But there's something about the sound that they had in Altered Nightmares that first year that was, it was so bad. It was so it took me out of the fact that it was a haunted attraction, and it felt like I was in hell, or I felt like I was having a panic attack, or I was having a nightmare. Like there was nothing fun about it at all. There was nothing campy about it. There was nothing cool about it. There was nothing creepy even. It was just, it was bad. It was bad sound. It was like, it was atonal. There was no melody. And it's hard to describe. It was oppressive. It was very oppressive. You know, Glenn and I have talked about, you know, the sounds in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes. So like camera flashes.
Yeah, there's no music in that movie. It's just
Yeah.
Okay, but it was nonstop oppression, and that tactic set us up for anything, because they could have done anything to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in their hands. Because within 1 minute of being in there, I wanted to get the hell out. Because like I remember I was putting my fingers in my ears at one point, because I couldn't handle it anymore. And the use of sound, which would be twofold with when they moved and they had the Hotel of Horror, they used sound in a different way when you were walking up the steps to get higher and higher to the attic, and in the background you heard preaching.
Okay.
And it was the satanic priest or something.
Okay.
And I just remember we were walking, and there's people everywhere, and I'm hearing this echo of somebody, and I'm like, what is that? And it's getting louder and louder and louder, and it's just like, I was like, what the hell is going on? and eventually it's getting louder and louder, and you're getting closer and closer and closer. And when you finally saw the thing that you were hearing the sound of, it was too much. Like, it was overwhelming. I remember seeing a cross of baby heads, and I remember seeing a man in a goat outfit, and I remember upside down crosses and pews, church pews, and flashes of light, and this man with a thong on who was hogtied, and like all like it was just like
What?
it was like craziness. Like um so the use of sound, definitely, and if a close tie was a haunt that does not exist anymore, called Easton Haunts. They were called Easton Haunts, and they did things that nobody else ever did. I've never seen anybody do what they did, and of course, they closed. They would take the walls and they would constantly move them. They would shift. So you'd be walking and there were people taking the walls and rolling them back and forth and moving. So you would, and then new people would be jumping in at all. It was crazy. So those two things come to mind like the most. Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
Talk to me about you doing your own little. You didn't have like a home haunt, but on Halloween night, you opened up your house to trick or treaters, and I'm not talking just like outside. Kids came in. I mean, kids walked through your living room, through your kitchen, down your basement, back up, out again. I mean, this was not like an outside home haunt. It was one night only on Halloween for trick or treaters. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was inspired by. There is a DVD that's out by the actor Dan Roebuck.
Okay.
And he made a DVD called Halloween Haunting of America, and you can still get it on Amazon. It's from 2005 or whatever. And I remember I watch it every Halloween, every season. And there's a good deal about home, doing things in your home. And it would make me really emotional. Like I was like, why is this making me so emotional? Like seeing the children crying and screaming, and I was just like, and I remember being a 5-year-old and urinating in my pants while I was trick-or-treating. There was a guy that chased me with a chainsaw in 1983, before chainsaws were a thing on hayrides, and this all tied in. So we recruited Glenn. We recruited about 5 or 6 people, adults, and we rehearsed a few things. And basically, I had a sign outside of our house for about a month before, advertising it. It was called Mrs. Death's Lair of Nightmares. And we had a projection screen outside the house that was showing an hour-long loop of horror movie images. And my wife was Mrs. Death. She was outside the door, kind of making sure everybody was cool. And there was a line. Glenn. Do you remember that? There was a line outside the door for like 3 hours. And
wow,
people were coming in twos and stuff like that. And the deal was is that we were giving out full-size candy bars. So if you did, you could get a full-size candy bar per floor. So if you did the main floor, you get a full size. And if you do the top floor, you did a full size. If you do the basement, you get a full size. And it was horrible. Like I like there was a piece, one of the worst pieces, I think, was there was this brother and sister. We don't even know who these people are. There's this brother and sister in our upstairs bathroom. And I'm in the shower and they don't know. And the bathroom is pitch black and there's horrible, scary music playing in the bathroom. And the brother and sister the sister's probably 9, the brother's probably 5. And I hear the brother say, "I don't like this. I wanna get out of here." And I had a dilemma in my head. I said, well, it is Halloween and they are in here, so I'm going to do it. And I ripped the shower curtain away and jumped out, and I was dressed as a werewolf, and it was horrible. I basically we did this thing where they would go into the bathroom and it would get locked from the outside so they couldn't get out of the bathroom. Then as soon as I jumped out, the door would become unlocked. And when they ran out, there'd be somebody on their knees who dressed as a clown. And as soon as they left, they'd be like it was horrible. It was horrible.
Oh my God.
Horrible. And Glenn worked the basement, and the basement was horrible. There were the sounds of the dinner scene of Texas Chainsaw Massacre were on a loop, and kids, oh man, yeah, like tons of fog, tons of live actors, lots of situations that were very scary and disturbing and creepy. There was a scene where I think Glenn did this, where I have this fake candy man like holder, like, so he's like looks like a little person, and he's holding a bowl and it has candy in it. Well, I put a clown mask on him, and then I put Glenn on his knees next to him with the same mask on. So now they think they're both fake. Well, when they went up to reach their hand in, Glenn took his bowl, which didn't have real candy in it. It had confetti, and he threw it into their faces. And then they screamed, and then they turned around, and there was an actor laying on their back on the floor that they never saw, and they were contorting their body like, you know, like this. Wow. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. Like it, and
I wish I'd gone through this.
it was.
I remember a few people, like parents, like looked inside. They're like, "Yeah, we're not going through this."
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And we had my favorite though were teenagers. They were my favorite because I love teenagers because they trash talk. I love that. I love that. So like, this one teenager came up with a skateboard.
Okay.
He ran out and left his skateboard at the front step and ran. Like he just ran out, and it was the best. Like that was just, you know, we did have a dad come in with his son, and I remember he came in, and within maybe 30 seconds, he literally said, "F this." And then they left. Like, I don't know what was more offensive. Like, he thinks our haunted house is offensive when he just said F in front of his 5-year-old. Like, I don't know. Call me crazy. But anyway, so that was something that we continued. We did that for a few years, but that year that Glenn was there, it was that was the biggest thing we ever did. And then when we moved, we started to do haunted house experiences just for our friends.
Oh, okay.
Glenn came to one of those, and so we started to do some experiences just for adults that we knew, you know, kind of thing.
Okay.
Where we would tie them up and.
No, she's serious.
Really?
I remember not tying up, but I remember like sitting in your bathroom in the pitch black with a bag over my head. And thinking it's perfectly normal because, you know, it's Dante's house, so it's perfectly normal.
It sounds like you're doing stuff way before Rob Zombie thought of putting bags over people's heads and putting.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what's funny is, and I don't know if Glenn knows this, my haunted houses started when I was about 12 years old. I was raised in an apartment complex. We lived on the top floor.
Okay.
And I lived in a very small bedroom.
Okay.
And I would put on 20-minute haunted houses in that small bedroom.
Wow.
And there was a line out of the apartment complex at one point, and I had my friends in the elevator bringing people up. My parents were serving drinks and cookies while people waited in line. So like this is something that's been going on. And I remember I had some relatives come and they ran out of my bedroom, like within a couple minutes. And I do remember there was a scene where I had bunk beds,
Okay.
and they would sit on the bottom bunk, and we gave them canoe rowers,
Okay.
and you started to hear water, and
Okay.
then all of a sudden my friends and I would take them and pull them off the bed with pillow slides so they wouldn't get hurt. And we would pull them down and put them in black trash bags, their whole body. We would put their whole body in trash bags. So this stuff's been going on
Oh my gosh.
for forever. And yeah, it's been going on for a long time.
How did they get out of it? Like, did they like, how did people react to that? Did they like rip out of it or?
Yeah, well, some people did, and then some people just let let's see what Dante's going to do or whatever. We made people go in without their shoes on because we had marbles on the floor. Oh, it was bad. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. My friend's sister was crying. Yeah, it was like yeah, we've we've had a lot of people through the years either throw up in our bathroom or cry or yeah, some weird stuff, some funny stuff. But I've been doing haunted houses since I was a kid. Yeah, yeah. So it's always been, I've always loved it.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. So something that actually inspired Glenn with his videos is he shows the tick at the beginning of his videos because you did in the past. And I wanted to know what started that because like no one else was doing that at the time.
It was inspired by concerts.
Oh, okay.
So because I valued concerts and really, to be honest, it's probably mostly going to be movies at that time.
Okay.
I valued the ticket stub when I went to go see a movie.
Okay.
And I treated it as a treasure. It was it was like a party favor,
Okay.
and so I would collect the ticket stubs for movies, and then simultaneously I said I have to collect the ticket stubs from these haunted attractions.
Gotcha.
And if they were dirty or they had some fake blood on them or whatever, even better, And so that's what inspired that. Yeah, I just, and I wanted people to see the ticket stub because haunts were doing different things with their stubs. They had different art on them, and like some of them looked amazing.
Yes,
and
they did.
So and they would change them year by year. Some haunts just kept the same one over and over. Like, you ever notice how some haunts they're using a ticket stub from years ago that doesn't even have those haunts on them anymore, and they're still using them? You're like, all right,
That's funny.
but I love those the when haunts would change their stub year by year. Oh man, that's so cool. Yeah, it's a collector's thing for me.
Yeah,
Again,
totally.
So yeah.
Yeah. I have a collection of ticket stubs. I haven't collected every one of them. Nowadays, a lot of stuff is QR codes. So
I know. I hate that. I hate it. Yeah. It's like digital movies and digital music. Yeah. So that's where that came from, just from the love of it.
But if you're lucky, you take the QR code and go to the ticket booth and they give you a real one. If you're lucky.
Yes. I the thing I don't like is when they print out those real flimsy sheets of paper.
Oh yeah.
They're only black and white, and they're just like, and then the ink disappears through time.
Wow.
Like, I have a couple of them, and after about 5 or 6 years, I had to take a pen and trace because it was disappearing. Like, it was like disappearing ink. I don't know what the hell it was.
It's like receipt paper, like that receipt paper type stuff. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Exactly. Yep.
That's wild.
Yeah.
I know you went to a lot of mom and pop haunts. You talked about that earlier, and I wanted to know, out of those, which ones were your favorites out of that? Because I know you went to a lot of them.
Devil's Folly.
Devil's Folly. All right.
Devil's Folly. still talk about it. I still think about it. I'm so grateful that we were able to film our movies in there. They were one of the haunts that we were able to do that with. There was nothing. It was. I still remember the first year we found it. We drove up, and you always know the good ones when you say to yourself, "What the hell is this?"
Yes.
Like, because that's what we said when we first discovered Halls of Horror. We were there we found the Halls of Horror by accident. It was just an accident. And I remember saying, brand new. Look at it. What is this? It looks horrible. Like, what is this?
Oh, jeez.
And it changed our lives, obviously.
Yeah.
Devil's Folly, obviously Devil's Folly, the freaking Funhouse, and Easton Haunts, which I've already name dropped.
Yes.
Stole my heart, but if I were to pick my absolute favorite, it's going to be Devil's Folly. We had the pleasure, thankfully, of going to Devil's Folly probably 3 to 4 times. I think we went twice in 1 year, actually, one
Nice.
time. And when you go to a haunt and you go down a slide
Yes.
of bones,
Oh,
like
cool.
a slide of bones, and you wind up in a pit that seems dangerous. When there are twins at a haunt, these 2 guys that are certifiably insane, like in real life, just crazy, like just bonkers. You have the owner of a haunt employing his 5 kids in the haunt. Already you're playing with different territory. And when the haunt is in a real barn that's his property, he already owned the property. I'll never forget when we left the first time we did it. We literally were talking in the parking lot because we did not understand what was going on. Like, we were just confused. Like, the first time we did it, we weren't even sure if we liked it.
Okay.
Because it was so confusing. Like, it was as if they the best haunts are the ones that seem like they were made by people who have never been to a haunt convention before.
Okay.
Who have never been to a haunt before. Like,
okay.
It's like they were aliens that came from another planet and just were like, we're going to do a haunted house.
Okay.
And it was just, it was bonkers. Like, it was just bonkers. It was scary and it was weird. Most of all, Glenn knows this, the thing that matters to me the most is atmosphere. I want to feel it. I want to feel that Halloween atmosphere. I want to feel, it's the same thing with movies. My wife makes fun of me because there are movies I've seen 15 times. And on the 15th time, I'll say to her, "Oh, I didn't know that was her daughter." And she'll look at me and say, "What movie are you What are you at? Are you crazy?" Like, that's part of the plot. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm so caught up in the feeling of the movie that plot is secondary, oftentimes. So that's the same thing with haunted houses. And I actually prefer haunted houses that don't have a theme.
Okay.
I don't want just one theme. I don't want to, I want just chaos. Like, you go in one room and a girl's chopping up this girl, and then you go to another room and there's clowns, and then you go to another room and it's like, what, like, because that's what I remember as a kid.
Okay.
So Devil's Folly, if you watch those 7 1-minute clips, you'll know exactly why I love them so much.
I'm gonna watch them after this.
I think if you actually search Devil's Folly on YouTube, I think we might have the only videos up for it. So,
oh wow.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So that's a good thing because we can immortalize them,
Yes.
So the mom and pops, though, man, amazing, amazing. They just, Devil's Folly, Easton Haunts, freaking Funhouse, Halls of Horror when they first started were even more underground. Like, I mean, it was just, they weren't brutal back then. They weren't extreme, you know. It was just terrifying. Like, but Devil's Folly, I'm gonna have to give it to them. I still I still think about it. I still think about them. Yeah. Yeah.
You've been some wild places, man.
Yeah, yeah. I did, there's just something about them, man. And I don't consider the ones in Canada mom and pops.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess in a way they are, but they're open 365 days a year. So they're almost like attractions, but they're some of the most extreme haunted houses that my wife and I have ever been to.
You have to sign a waiver?
No, they're not extreme in that sense.
Oh, okay, okay.
They're extreme in the sense of psychological torment.
Okay, okay.
So like I actually had to bail the first time we did one of them because I lost my mind completely. But those, yeah, I don't know if you could call them mom and pops, but they're some of them aren't there anymore. The real hardcore ones aren't there anymore. The ones where they didn't have a safe word, and it was so claustrophobic that they physically couldn't pull you out. The guy, I'll never forget, was a place called Screamers.
Okay.
And I have a T-shirt of it still.
Oh, yeah.
And I have it right here.
Oh, wow.
I framed it.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's cool.
So it's a
Nice.
Screamers House of Horrors. And we went up to the front desk.
Yeah.
And the guy, nobody's dressed in costume, right? And the guy's just like, ticket's $15. Just says this, right? I'm like, what is this? You know what I mean? This is weird. So, and he's like, oh, by the way, if you're claustrophobic, don't go in. And my wife knows my phobias. And I immediately said, 2 tickets, please. And my wife looked at me like, are you completely out of your mind? October panic attack. And he said to us, here's a news article on the wall. And we're like looking at it. And it was a girl had a seizure.
Oh, dang.
Leaving the haunt that we were about to go into. And he was displaying it proudly. and he said to us, I said, why? I was like, what do you mean it's claustrophobic? He said, oh, once you go in, we can't physically get you out. I was like, and I will tell you, it was the most claustrophobic I have ever been in my entire life.
Wow.
They should have had a weight limit in there. It was horrible. Horrible. You had to suck your stomach in to get through the wall of some of them. Yeah. Yeah. Bad. Screamers.
Oh my God.
I guess that was mom and pop too. I don't know. Yeah.
Usually I ask people like, what are your top 3 haunts you would want to go to and everything. But for you, Dante, I asked if you could do any haunt over again, what would you do? But I assume you just answered that with the Devil's Folly, if that's going to be your answer.
Yeah. Yeah, Devil's Folly and probably Easton Haunts. Again, those two. Of course, they're both gone, and they because we were filming and we were a part of their lives, we got to see their financial turmoil. We got to see them lose things and stuff like that. So it's a real thing. But those would be the ones right there. My wife and I have always had an affinity when it comes to the big ones. We've always had an affinity to Penhurst, and I've actually had numerous panic attacks at in the tunnel and stuff like that. But anyways, yeah, Devil's Folly and Easton Haunts. I miss him. Yeah, I miss him. And of course, Dracula's Castle from Wildwood Boardwalk. That would be great, but that's burned down and gone forever. Yeah, yeah, crazy.
Would you do them now if they were still open? If Devil's Folly in Easton was still open today, would you come out of quote unquote like retirement and go out to them?
Yeah, I probably would. I mean, I with my health issues and stuff, I would be in tune with what I'm going through and stuff. Obviously, I would have like, my mask on and everything, but I would be right. If I could do it physically, I'd be there. Definitely. Yeah, because there's a special magic, and but there's been an evolution too. I'm experiencing Halloween magic in a different way now. Mm-hmm. And now I'm putting on haunted houses and dinners for my daughter on a daily basis. Like, we live in this world for 61 days. So there's like that thing too. So there's, there's kind of that evolution there. And thankfully it works with the way my health is too and stuff. So it's kind of, but I would definitely make an attempt, man. I'd make an attempt.
I know that Glenn has the ritual of listening to Halloween music, like custom mixtapes he makes, and having pumpkin donuts. What's your haunt ritual?
What's my what ritual?
What's your ritual before going to a haunted attraction?
Oh yeah. I would well, I always have a mix of Halloween music playing in the car, but before we would get in the car,
mm-hmm.
I remember there would be incense burning in the house. There would be maybe a candle. There would be the mix would be playing in the house.
Nice.
Okay, so before we would actually go to the van, we'd have to turn and blow out everything. We'd have to turn everything off. So we'd almost be living in a haunted house before we went in. Yeah. So, and that was really before I started, having my health issues where I had dietary restrictions and stuff like that. But like Glenn, or like in general, I would be, I'd have some Halloween treats, maybe some candy. They would have some donuts, or there'd be some stuff going on there. So yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
I've heard your mix CDs. They're kind of boring and mediocre, but
oh my gosh.
There was one song you always put on your Halloween mix, and I think I want to know what inspired you to put it on, because it's so unique and so uncommon. That was the Halloween theme by John Carpenter. What made you put that on there?
It's weird. I mean, just like, it sounds like the fall to me for some reason. Yeah.
But no, seriously, there was a song that you always put on there, and it's Billy Idol's Eyes Without a Face. And I never heard anyone put that song on any Halloween mix other than you. And I want to know your connection to that song with the Halloween season.
So I have such a connection to that song that now we do Halloween dinners for 61 nights in our house, from September 1st to October 31st. And the Halloween mix is playing while we eat dinner.
Okay.
It's on a shuffle. So we don't know what it's going to be. So last night, Eyes Without a Face came on. And I stood up out of the chair, and my daughter knows the song now and everything. There's another Billy Idol song that's part of my mix also, which is Flesh for Fantasy. So it's those two, but predominantly Eyes Without a Face. Why? What's weird about it, man, is I cannot explain it, but the song gives me a Halloween feeling. And apart from the fact that the lyrics are about a horror movie, I mean, apart from the fact, I didn't even know that. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was inspired by the film Eyes Without a Face. I didn't know that. I didn't even see that movie by that, but when I got into the song or whatever. But it's the feel of it. It's the sound of it. And the way the song starts, as soon as you push play, it just goes, and I don't, there's certain, it's a feeling. And I can't explain it. There are a lot of songs on our mix that some people have heard of. What the hell? How's that a Halloween song? What the hell? What is that? Like there's an Ozzy Osbourne song, Shot in the Dark. It's another one that I'm just obsessed with during the Halloween season. So Eyes Without a Face it's not only a Halloween song for me, it's actually one of my favorite songs of all time. If I were to make a list of, songs. Billy Idol actually has 3 of my favorite songs of all time, and they tend to be on my Halloween mixes. Flesh for Fantasy, Eyes Without a Face, and Rebel Yell is another one. I don't know what it is, man. It's weird. It's very, very weird. So yeah.
No, it's awesome. You might be the only person to ever put that song, but it does. If you know the song, it really does fit into like this Halloween theme. If you do it, yeah.
I'm gonna have to listen to it now. I never heard.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really it's a really good song, and it does have like that kind of undertone creepiness to it.
The video is pretty creepy too. I watched the video for the first time in years, and I was like,
oh, yeah,
damn. Like Billy Idol's videos were kind of creepy back in the day. Yeah. So that's how that goes. Music is a really important part. When I decorate the house, I put the mix on my phone and put it in my back pocket, so I'm hearing the music wherever I go. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that it is really important to me. That's a ritual. That's a big fall ritual. Yeah, for me.
I'm curious because I'm not sure if you talked about this before. Have you ever done any horror themed escape rooms? And if you have, would you do it again?
Okay. I have never, and I don't have any interest in doing them. My wife has shown interest even before they became big. Like when they first started, she would be like, "Oh, I want to check that out." I just for me personally, I relate them to puzzles.
Okay.
And I hate puzzles.
Okay.
But I don't. I just for me personally, I just don't associate them with Halloween. I don't consider them like a haunted house. They're like another thing. It's like almost like it's like a problem solving type of thing. Although I'm going to eat my words because there was a haunt years ago.
I know you've been to one. I know you've done one.
And they did it in the haunted way. They did it the right way. And they're called
Halloween Park.
Halloween Park. Thank you.
Which are now closed. But yes, the whole thing was like an escape room, go from room to room.
And it was
way
scary.
Before escape rooms were what they are now.
Yeah. It was scary too. Really scary. So I think that's the thing, man. If they were scary, I would be more apt to do it. But if it's just like, let's figure this out, not my bag. But if you're going to make it scary like Halloween Park, oh my gosh, that was like, I was like, get me out of this room. Yeah, so that's, and I know they're really big now. And the thing is that they're really big with people who don't even like horror. Like people who don't go to haunted houses go to escape rooms.
Yeah.
And maybe that's another thing that I don't like about them is that you have people who hate haunted houses going to them.
Okay.
And I'm like, you guys don't even like the haunted houses and you're going to them.
That's funny.
No, but that's cool. That's cool that people are doing that in the off season.
Yes.
There's haunts who are doing escape rooms to make money on the off season.
Yes.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. So
one you should definitely check out if you like a scary escape room. I've heard that 13th Hour Haunted House, they have escape rooms. I've heard they actually have scare actors in the rooms scaring you when you're doing it.
Really?
Yeah, so you should definitely check that out.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you. And I've heard of them. Okay. Yeah, really cool. Okay. Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. This is awesome, man. This has been
Yeah.
great. This has really been great.
Yeah, thank you very much for talking to us. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. 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 I love your channel, man. I really, really do. And
Thank
I
you.
look forward to the new content you guys have. And I really love I love the chemistry you two have,
Thank
and
you.
of course, because I'm so obsessed with Slasher Dave, to
Yes.
see that I've actually watched pieces of that interview more than once.
Oh,
Like,
nice.
I'll go back and I will like rewatch. Yeah, so
Cool.
very cool.
Awesome.
So I've been John from the Haunt Informer,
And I'm Glenn from Fall Ritual.
and this was episode 35 of Fall Informer. Thank you very much for talking to us, Dante. And until next time, happy hauntings.
Thanks, guys.